This Planning Committee meeting on the 6th of May 2025. I'm Councillor Phil Murphy, Chair of the committee, and Dale.
Hi, I'm Dale Rook. I'm Vice Chair of the Planning Committee.
Good afternoon, Amy Longford, Head of Planning.
Philip Thomas, Development Services Manager.
Andrew Jones, Development Services Manager.
Joanne Chase, Solicitor of the Planning Committee.
Richard Ray, Paralegal.
Richard Williams, Democratic Services.
Thank you, everybody. And before we go any further, it's Amy's last meeting. And because she leaves us next week, she wants to say a bit towards the end of the meeting. So if everybody can just hang back, that would be welcome, and particularly those online. Can I remind everybody that leave your cameras on if you're online, and stay in view. Contact us if you have to break off. Now, we don't have the normal procedures in here now. The vote will come up in the chat. For those online, we all joined you online here, but have switched everything off. So the hands up function, I'll try and keep an eye on the screens, because you'll have to use the hands up on the top of your screen rather than anything arriving in the chat. So we'll go to the agenda. Declarations. And we are just going to get that up a minute. And so apologies for absence, Richard.
Apologies, Chair, from Councillors Crook and Laura Wright.
Okay, thank you. And declarations of interest, anybody? As and when, if you think of anything. And can I take it that the minutes of the last meeting are accurate? Can I have a proposal? Thank you, Councillor Powell and Councillor just sorry. Yes, right. Thanks for that, Councillor Hells. The only item before us today is DM 2024-01281, proposal for 2 detached dwellings with on-site parking at the land of the rear of what was Rosemary and Beaufort Road, Osbaston. And Phil, you're doing that one.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a site several of us visited on Friday as part of the site visit. The site was occupied by a detached cottage, Rosemary, on Beaufort Road. I'll show you slides in a moment. And the property was approved to be demolished and replaced by a new dwelling under an application approved in 2022. It has since been demolished, as we saw on site, and that permission is still extant. In addition, there was permission granted for a detached dwelling to be built towards the rear of the long garden of the former property, Rosemary, approved in 2021, and that's also extant, can be implemented. So this current application is a revised scheme to change the scale, design, layout of those 2 plots, with the new dwelling close to the site frontage, but set back from where it would have been in the 2022 approval, and there would still be a dwelling towards the rear of the plot. So if you have a look at the slides, that's showing Rosemary there, or the site. There's a gap now, and you can see it's in suburbia off Beaufort Road, the sort of southeastern side of Beaufort Road. If we go to the next slide, so that's showing the permission for the frontage plot there that was granted in early 2022, and then there was a plot towards the rear granted slightly earlier than that, but both are still extant and can be implemented. They would have had one access to the left-hand side. Well, as you're looking at the front of the plot from Beaufort Road to the right-hand side, using the existing access that served Rosemary originally. Next slide, please. That's showing the site plan. So you can see Rosemary was set over to one side at the site frontage, but it's now been taken down. The site slopes from the road down towards a watercourse at the rear of the site, and it slopes sort of more steeply at the front and then falls away less steeply towards the rear of the site. We have a look at the next slide. So that's showing the proposed development. So that shows plot 1 at the front, plot 2 behind. We'll have a look at the design in a moment. But plot 1 would have its access off the right-hand side as you're looking at the site frontage from Beaufort Road. And the change from the previously approved plot layouts features a new driveway to serve the rear plot there that would go down the left-hand side as you're looking from Beaufort Road there to serve the plot at the rear. There'll be a decent margin. Sorry if we carry on that slide. Thank you, Andrew. There is a sort of back corridor at the bottom of the site where there is a watercourse. So that area is to be kept clear of development and is to be fenced. To be secure away from the garden, so there's no incursion into that area, and there wouldn't be any lighting in that area to keep it a dark corridor for the wildlife there. So we go to the next slide. That's the plot at the front, and we'll see some comparative scale pictures later on. We can see it's designed to be relatively low, with a lot of the accommodation within the roof, as you can see, and because the site slopes, it's 2-storey at the rear and sort of 1.5 at the front, and you can see that from the sections that the site slopes down from the road down towards the rear of the plot. Thank you, Andrew. And that's the plot at the rear, which is on a less sloping part of the site, hence it's a more conventional 2-storey dwelling, but it'll have a garage sort of pushed slightly further forward of the building line. But because it's set so far back, in line with dwellings in Charles Close, which is a cul-de-sac to the sort of north of the site, it will align with other dwellings in that area and won't be out of kilter as a plot towards the rear of the current one. Those are summaries of the issues, and if we can just get to the comparative, so that's the dwelling that was approved at the front. You can see it was much wider, and the plot is in red, which shows it's actually a lot narrower than that approved scheme under the 2021 permission, and that allows access to be formed to the left-hand side of that red area in the diagram, which is the new dwelling, and it does allow, actually, happily as a result of that, to allow more space between the gable end of the new dwelling and the neighbour to the left-hand side as you're reading that picture there. Go to the next one, and that shows a comparison of the previously approved scheme, which was nearer the site frontage, a sort of L-shaped plot. You can see there was it was much nearer the forward part of the building line there, and then to the right-hand side is the proposed plot 1, which has more scope for some planting at the front, and obviously that access there does allow more width between plot 1 and the neighbour to the north. We go to and then that slide there is the rear plot. It shows where in the red edge you can see where the approved scheme was. So that was sort of nearer the neighbour to the left-hand side, if you like. This plot 2 is slightly, the proposed scheme is slightly nearer the northern property, 11 Charles Close, by about 1 metre, but there's still a good margin between those two properties. There's still 3 metres between the proposed gable of plot 2 and the boundary, and I think you've got about a margin of about 7 metres between the two. It's a gable end, so there won't be any overlooking windows. Any windows on side elevations are going to be obscure glazed, so there shouldn't be any loss of privacy to the neighbouring properties. And you can see that bat corridor to the bottom there, which is to be retained and fenced off to retain that wildlife corridor. I think that's that's the last slide. Thank you, Andrew. So the plots are acceptable infill additions to the suburban nature of this area, and the rear plot would align with the properties in the cul-de-sac in Charles Close and would not appear incongruous to the pattern of development in the area. There are no objections from statutory consultees, including Highways, the council's ecologist, and the SAB team. The SAB team are satisfied that the site can be drained without causing harm to adjoining properties or wildlife. There should be no harmful impact on neighbouring dwellings due to the scale and layout of the development away from boundaries. And as said, any windows on side elevations would be obscure glazed. The provision of a private drive to serve the dwelling at the rear would be screened by boundary planting, and the number of vehicles using this driveway in terms of any new movements, introducing new movements into the area, would be very limited. And while a scheme for net benefit for biodiversity has been submitted that satisfies the council's ecologist, a soft landscaping scheme has been conditioned that needs to be detailed up, and this would need to complement the scheme for net benefit for biodiversity. The application is recommended for approval, subject to conditions, and a Section 106 agreement to ensure there's an off-site contribution towards affordable housing in the locality of around 9.6k, 9,630k. So we'd recommend approval, members, on that basis. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Phil. And I note that Monmouth Town Council recommends refusal, but it was evidence on their site that they hadn't noted the fact that there was already extant permission. The objections seem to be with regard to the rear property, plot 2. You know, when we explained that, they seemed to understand a lot better what was going on. You've heard the report from Phil. Has anybody got any questions to ask? Use the hands up function on the screen. I see nobody there. Sue.
Just to support this application, I mean, it's reasonably simple in that it's actually a more modest proposal than the original proposal. So, and I understand that people in the area are unhappy about that, the development of the garden plot, but they're getting less development than under the original proposal, which has already got planning permission. So I'd be in favour of that and would suggest that we would approve it.
Okay, thank you for that. And Councillor Howells.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go on. All right. Just really querying the parking allotments, allocation rather. As I noticed, there's 3 spaces for plot 1, plus the garage, and then plot 2 only seems to show 1 parking space and 1 garage. Is that correct? I mean, there seems to be plenty of room for extra parking, but it's not on the map. It's only showing 1 parking space.
Which... Do you want to come in on that, Phil?
Yeah. Yeah. Ways on that basis, I just need to clarify. Yeah, so there's actual parking within the garage, and I appreciate we don't count that if it's an integral garage. There's parking for at least 2 cars in here, and you can park in front of the garage, I would suggest, as well. So there's probably parking for about 4 cars there, I would suggest, leaving the turning area still free to come in and out. So, as I said, there's no objection from Highways to that layout of parking, and there shouldn't be any need for that parking to overspill onto Beaufort Road, which we also was very narrow, and you wouldn't want that in any case.
Yeah, that's what I thought. There does appear to be plenty of room for parking there. It's just, I think on the other plans, it's generally shown that the parking is. Yeah. Thanks, Phil.
Councillor Powell.
Yes, I just wanted to second Councillor McConnell's proposal to accept it.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else indicating that they want to speak? I can't see. Shout if you do. Oh. Right, Councillor Bryn.
Hi, diolch Phil. The only aspect I would like to add, apart from what's already been said, was that within the soft landscape in condition, I wondered if there might be protection for the green hedgeways along the boundary, which is there is quite a bit of it already on one side and a little on the other. Whether that can be improved upon, because that would increase biodiversity on site and also offer protection of privacy for the neighbours, which is one of the concerns raised by them. And also, I didn't know if we could encourage grasscrete along the extended driveway, because that would increase biodiversity, which is going to be currently lost with increased hard standing on site, and reduce noise of vehicles travelling down the driveway, the extended driveway alongside the housing. Diolch yn fawr.
Yeah, the hedgerows are to be retained and reinforced as part of the GI statement that said, but that does need to be then fleshed out in a planting plan, which is why that's conditioned. So we can take assurance from that that that's going to be achieved on site, and it will help, as you say, with neighbour privacy. It will need SAB approval, so the paving on site will need to be porous to actually accommodate the flows and meet SAB standards. But there's no reason why we couldn't add a condition on hard surfaces to be agreed with the applicant prior to implementation. That's certainly something we can think about adding in.
Yeah, I think that's probably worth doing. So, okay, well, I've got nobody else indicated they want to speak. We've had a proposer and a seconder. Richard, can you put the vote in the chat?
Chair, will that include the additional condition?
With the additional condition, yeah. Can everybody vote now then, please?
It's approved, it's unanimous.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. We've got some appeal decisions that Andrew's going to take us through. So, Andrew?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll just get the slides up. Apologies, just skip through the last presentation just to get there so the appeals make some sense. So it's two appeals, but on one site. So the site is number 1 Monokeep in Monmouth. So it was two appeals. One was an appeal against an enforcement notice, and the other was against refusal of a planning application. So there's sort of two elements, one proposed, one was retrospective. So the proposed element was a first floor extension above the garage here. And the second element of the planning application was retention of the extended garden curtilage. The garden area here had been built out and up, and it was that element there in blue that was the subject of the enforcement notice. So that should be, the works to build it up should be removed, and the residential use of that land should cease. So that's what the site was like prior. So there's a car park here behind the shops along Mono Street. So that was previously the garden finished here, and then there was this entrance gate, and this had been used by originally Environment Agency, and obviously since changes NRW, to access the land for flood defence work. So the garden was extended. You can see here, this is the purple line that shows the extension to the garden curtilage, and also that land had been built up, and that's from the riverside. And in terms of the proposed element that was just subject to the planning appeal, that was the dwelling as it stood on the end, and this garage was to be brought up to first floor level. So we refused the planning application in both parts. One, we felt the extension was failed to preserve or enhance the conservation area which it's sited within, and that there were harmful effects to flooding caused by the unauthorised work subject to the notice. And the inspector sided with the council's view that and the planning application was refused and the enforcement notice has been upheld. That's the end of the slides there. So it's down now for the notice will take effect, and its requirements to remove the unauthorised works and return it to its former condition, say it's sort of sloping land here, so that the breach of planning control would be undone. So that's it, just for your information. Okay,
thanks, Andrew. So that's the end of the scheduled meeting. We're meeting back at 3:30 now for the training session, which is open to all members. If it hadn't have been, we could have started, but as we're expecting other members to come in, we'll have to stick to the 3:30. Well, I have to go to governors meetings. Okay, well, as many stay as possible, because I say, we would run it straight on, but we can't, as it's been noted to all members. Amy.